Last year at Wimbledon, we saw more rallies probably than we've ever seen in a long time on the surface, on the grass. There were getting to be a lot of rallies, I think, at one point around 2010, the end of the 2000s, the beginning of 2010s, because of the heat. The heat's been, increasing all across the globe. I mean, not necessarily just that, but the climate change thing as it gets cooler and hotter at the same time. It's doing all kinds of stuff. But, at a lot of the tournaments, it seems like sometimes we can get heat waves like never before, and even at Wimbledon now in London. And that will just tear up the grass. I mean, the grass can't survive with the beatings of the pounding it takes from the feet of the players. Today's rough game that they play, it's not like ballet like it used to be. Not that it was been like that for a long time, but even now, I mean, the players are so rough on the surface and on a live surface like grass. And then you add in the heat element that stresses the grass. It was dying really quickly, like around 2008 to 2012, and not surprisingly, that's when Nadal was doing well then too, because of the more of a bounce. When the grass dies off, you have less slickness, more dirt accumulates on the felt of the ball, makes the ball a little bit heavier. But more than that, it just jams up, almost like a clay court, not like that, but a little bit like that, where it jams up. And dead grass can pile up too and do a lot of bounces. So there was more bounce, and that helped a lot of the clay courters. Now, what also has helped the clay courters a lot is the ball changes over the years. And I know this has been something Tim Henman talked about before, how he has all the balls and they've been getting larger progressively over time. And I've done this with the US Open, collected balls, and I have the proof in my hand how they keep getting bigger. Of course, the tournament people keep nodding their heads like we don't know what you're talking about. So, but it's okay. I mean, the bottom line is these people do. People are like, why would the tournament try to hide it? They're not necessarily trying to hide. They just don't feel that they have to reveal everything. And they don't. They don't have to. And it's for the players to figure out, and the fans have to guess, I guess. Or if you're like me, I went and talked to, when I've got really interested in all these conditions and everything, this was about 12 years ago, I started to go to manufacturers. I started emailing at first, then I was making calls, and I met some people. And then I was going to tournament officials. I was doing a lot of manufacturer, tournament people, people in charge of tennis, basically, too. And I learned so much, and I'm so grateful for all the help I've gotten over the years. And then I did a lot of watching. Everything I heard, I just took it, like not with a grain of salt, but I said, I was a physics major back in the day, so I'm gonna check it for myself. So I did a lot of studying on watching to see if it played out like the people were telling me. And I put this all together, and now I have a great understanding of the way conditions affect the game and the little changes that happen along the way. But the tournaments just want fair play. They want great TV viewership. They want people to watch. And so they want it to be fair for everyone. They don't want, like it used to be a long time ago, clay court guys like, we're not coming to Wimbledon, it's a joke, we can't play on this. So they just want it to be, fair for everybody. And they also don't want people being injured, especially the star players. So they don't want rallies like we had with Nadal and Djokovic, like in 2010, crazy stuff at the Australian Open. It beats the body up. They don't want that, but they don't want Pete Sampras, one shot tennis. That it has to be a balance in between. So they're just, in my opinion, looking for a balance. I don't think it's any crazy hidden secret. They're not rooting for one player. They're not trying to help Federer or Nadal or anything like that, in my opinion. But, that stuff is just me speculating because I'm not in the business end of it like that. But that's my opinion on that. Now, as far as conditions go, yes, I do know stuff. I've met, talked, emails. I have millions of emails that I still have, and maybe one day I will start to share some of it if I'm allowed. I don't know. But for sure I can't. It's not. I was asked many times when I talk to people like, don't share this, and I'm respecting that. But the bottom line is, and you may ask, well, why would they tell me? It's that simple. I mean, it's this simple. I was doing it way before anybody cared. I was doing it like some years ago. Nobody cared about this stuff. And even now, people still really don't that much. And so there was no harm, no foul. I mean, to be honest, a lot of my contacts dried up starting around 2014, 2015. Because all of a sudden it's like, is this getting out to the gamblers? How is this working? Why? So people were been more leery, but I still have my sources. The only thing is sometimes I won't pick up things as quick, and a lot of times I'm watching and trying to figure it out as well, which is some speculation, but it's with a lot of education, a lot of background on it. Anyway, so what happened with Wimbledon last year, I had two sources tell me the cut of the grass was a little higher. I was wondering why it looked so lush last year, and it was warm temperatures. And while everybody was saying, oh, it's getting beat up and balls are bouncing, the balls were bouncing and the rallies were longer, but the grass looked lush. I couldn't believe how much grass was left at the end of the tournament for those temperatures. And I talked to, I know a guy who does the seeding, the actual seeds that they cultivate that becomes Wimbledon grass. And he helps me a lot. Then I know I have two. Now, I haven't heard back from him this year. Last year, I know what they've been doing recently is overseeding. So that's making a thicker, more lush grass. So you're getting more grass and it's hardier. They've changed the strains just a little bit. It's lime grass, but I'm sorry, ryegrass, lime grass. I'm getting confused with limestone at the French Open. But anyway, it's ryegrass, but there's different strains, different cultivars, how do you say, they cultivate it differently. So they're always getting stronger, they're doing overseeding, and they've found better ways to get rid of the weeds. That's a big deal, the weeds in the grass. And it's just overall, it's just the maintenance of it. The grounds crew has done a better job. So there's a whole lot to that is making the grass courts by far the best they've ever been in history with technology and what people know now. So that's part of the reason you're seeing more grass. But last year I did wonder why it was even more grass. It was more green than I was able to understand until I was told by two sources that the cut was like a millimeter higher. And it doesn't sound like much, but it makes a difference. So that will make it a little more thick, and that will, in combination, I was also told, and I could see it very clearly, that the ball itself was really heavy felt last year. This Sloginger ball, which is made by Dunlop, already has a heavy felt to slow it down. But it was really like pumped up last year and made it slower. So that, plus the little extra grass, it seemed to make a lot more rallies, but yet more variety, because you can spin it hard and you're going to get those bounces and you're going to get that slower effect and the more defense. But if you flatten it out, that because of the little extra grass, because of the thicker type of grass now, the overseeding and everything, it's zinging through the court, especially because there's more grass staying around, less grass dying, and then there's more, it's stronger too, because there was more dead grass. The grass will die, then just be ripped up and you have dirt. I was seeing like a combo of dead grass and dirt, because it's just all this, all this technology, everything's improving. So you're going to get a little slickness more. At the same time, you can have more rallies, you have more offense. That's why we see Anderson Isner, and that's why we see Nadal Djokovic and having the rallies. So it's interesting what's happening here. And this year, I can just tell you, I haven't heard anything different yet. I haven't seen it. I watched all the qualifying. I didn't see anything out of place or odd, or I didn't see that the ball was slower. I see it's slow. I mean, it's like it was last year and whatever, but it's not like, I don't see anything different. Of course, Roehampton, they play qualifications at a different venue. So we'll see what happens in the Wimbledon grass. But I have a feeling it's just going to be the same thing. They're going to keep trying to make a stronger grass that stays longer as long as it can, and less weeds. They want to eliminate bad bounces, and as things start to harden up. By the way, they use a lot of clay now, because ryegrass can take clay. And there's actually real clay in the grass courts, but not at the French Open. French Open is limestone and crushed brick, and in Wimbledon they actually have real clay with this soil, in the soil. And that actually, the old grass they used with like a fescue and all that, it couldn't take all the clay element, but the ryegrass can, and that clay hardens and makes that bounce higher also, that it really firms up underneath. Anyway, but after all that, I'm just kind of explaining the little bit of the history of the conditions at Wimbledon, a little bit of history of me, the best I can do without giving away all my contacts and everything. And I'm also saying that right now, I'm not seeing anything different. Tune in later, I'll see tomorrow. The guy who does the seeds that I told, that does the seeding for the tournament, hasn't gotten back to me actually yet. So I'll see if he has anything to say, but I have a feeling, full steam ahead. As far as the higher cut, I don't have real fit. Like I said, I have two sources. I buy it. I believe it was a little higher cut, but maybe not. But it did look really lush last year. Maybe that's just all the other items going into it. And also weather, by the way, not just the weather during the tournament, the weather back in the spring and what's going on under the ground and the wetness and is it a cold winter, a wet winter, a warm winter? This all plays into the grass too and how the grass is going to behave during Wimbledon. So anyways, that's it for now.